This is a special presentation from UFC Fight Pass. Step into our world at UFCFightPass.com. Podcast. Or to check out the archive, visit Podcast Central at UFCFightPass.com. Extra Rounds is a TJ. This is a special presentation from UFC Fight Pass. Step into our world at UFCFightPass.com. UFC Fight Pass presents Extra Rounds. Live from the Fight Pass studios in Southern California. It's Extra Rounds on UFC Fight Pass, along with Ray Longo and Dean Thomas. Here's your host, TJ DeSantis. Extra Rounds.
Oh my goodness, it is Extra Rounds here on UFC Fight Pass, working through some technical issues, but you know, if there's a will, there's a way, I say. But you are locked into Extra Rounds, the show that hopes Mike Bell and his 10-8 didn't screw it up for everyone else. He's the Anderson Silva to my Chael son, and his name is Ray Longo. Ray, how are you, sir? What's going on?
My man, better than the last time I saw you.
Are you there now?
At 4 o'clock in the morning.
There we go. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Yeah. I got it all figured out though now.
Oh no, I said better than I said better than the last time I saw you at 4 o'clock in the morning. I forget what time it was, but it was
it's 4 o'clock in the morning
after the fight. But let's just jump right into this 10-8 round, TJ.
Goodness.
I mean, I got to tell you, this is one of the. I can't put my finger on. It's not like it's like the scorecard was outrageous. It's that round and when it happened, just even with all the gambling accusations that have been around lately, and man, something just, I don't know how you come up with a 10-8 unless you, it just seems, as Joe Rogan would say, a lot of fuckery involved.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good, man. And that just definitely wasn't a 10-8 round. And why you would do that, I could only think that you knew who was going to win. Like you wanted somebody to win the fight. You know what I mean? And you already maybe screwed it up a little bit, so you tried to make up for it and make it a draw. I don't know. I have no clue, but that is one of the worst. Not even like the worst scorecards. It's not even that. It's that round at the time it was, the type of fight it was, the climate we're in with the gambling. I didn't like it at all. But I think he should be investigated for sure.
Well, you're talking about Mike Bell, who is the judge that turned in the 10-8 for round number 5. He's been giving some 10-8s recently. I think he gave multiple 10-8s on the same card. Here's my issue with it, Ray. I'm a big proponent of the 10-8. I think that we have a lot of rounds where we have a strong 10-9. It wasn't, a strong enough round for a 10-8 necessarily. And we have, pick'em rounds where you still put down a 10-9 for one athlete or the other. And the way to sort of negate one, strong 10-9 being the same as a, back or forth, flip or flop, choose your fighter, flip a coin round 10-9 is you can offset things when people do really well and turn in a 10-8. However, you can't do it to make up for a round that, maybe you got wrong earlier in the night. My argument is this, right? The athletic commissions have asked these judges to be more liberal with the 10-8. The 3D sort of a formula is there. It's damage, duration, and dominance. Those three things have to be present to score a 10-8 round. I'm never writing 10-8 down on my scorecard, Ray, if I have to defend it. A 10-8 should be very apparent and clear.
I like where your head's at.
Yeah, the one time I will say there could be a debatable 10 round is if maybe you didn't have enough damage, but you were dominant for a very long period of time. Like, say you're on someone's back. You don't really necessarily get a rear naked choke, but you're fishing for it for 4 minutes and 45 seconds. then
Right.
maybe someone would say,
Which is similar to Aljo and Jan in the second fight.
right, 100%. And that's sort of my complaint here because I worry that Mike Bell not only screwed over Valentina Shevchenko in this fight, I think he might have screwed up 10-8 rounds moving forward. Now, let me ask you that, right? They're going to have this special seminar where these judges are going to sit down in Nevada and talk about this. But did Mike Bell mess up 10-8s moving forward? Are judges going to be less likely? We'll buy or sell it right now, Ray. Did Mike Bell do a disservice to 10-8 rounds because he scored one in a round that clearly wasn't 10-8?
I mean, look, I have it. He did a disservice to himself. I don't think it should change anything with the 10-8s. He made a mistake. As long as he understands why it was a mistake. I mean, look, there were two other rounds in there you could have given 10-8s. One to Valentina, I think, because she almost had the guillotine, the mounted guillotine, or whatever the heck she had, and then the other one maybe for the knockdown. But those aren't 10-8 rounds either.
Right.
I just don't know how you come up with this one. So no, I think he did a disservice to himself.
It's even worse when you bring that up. You didn't score those rounds that were closer to a 10-8 than this one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope that judges are still as confident to give a 10-8 round moving forward. But, I do think we see this from time to time, Ray, where a judge or a referee makes a mistake earlier and you try to make good for it. Sometimes they try to make good for it in fights that aren't even the same fight, unfortunately. I think it's, in their own heart of hearts, they want to be like, see, I'm capable of not making this mistake.
Yeah.
But
Right. We don't really know what's going through their heads because they don't let them address anybody. So all we do is sit back and speculate, and that's where things start getting crazy. Because without hearing from anybody, you have to start, connecting the dots, and that it just doesn't look good. I don't know, and not in this case. That's what I'm saying. This is this one out of everything was just really, really strange.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd love to hear. Look, he might be a great judge too. He might just have been way off that night, or something happened. So I don't want to get down on the guy because I don't really hear his name mentioned a lot.
Right, and that's a great point. Mike Bell is a guy who's been around in MMA for a very long time. I called fights in Vegas on Friday the night before, and he was a ref, and he did a great job reffing. Judges and referees, if they do their job really well, you never mention their name, and that's a great sign. And the fact that Mike Bell isn't someone that we're not saying Mike Bell with the same sort of frustration as we do when we say the names Adelaide Bird or Saul D'Amato. I can say those things because I don't have fighters that I train standing in front of them and being judged. But
I've never learned that lesson, TJ. I'm starting to back off a little bit only because it doesn't get anywhere. So what the hell's the point? I'm not going to spin my wheels for nothing. But
it's a conversation that needs to happen.
It's always going to be a problematic institution, right? It has to be. But this one, woo.
Yeah. I mean,
this one was rough.
And it's compounded by the fact that it already was a rematch. I think Valentina deserves a fight again with Alexa Grasso, but it was the immediate rematch. I don't mind making a rematch after rematch if it's necessary. It is sort of tough though when you have a trilogy. At the top of the division, consecutively. It puts the division, a bit on hold. And, to make things worse, we're talking about Shevchenko now being shelved for 3 months after, needing surgery on her thumb because she broke her thumb badly, which even makes, everything even more unfortunate because most people believe that Valentina Shevchenko won this fight. It makes it more.
I personally did too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. It makes it even more frustrating when you realize that she had a hand injury very early in the fight and continued to perform the way that she did. Alexa Grasso is tough as nails. She's a phenomenal fighter,
100%,
worthy of being a champion. But we're in this situation
100%.
where we're trying to sell people, if you will, on a Valentina Shevchenko, second rematch. and she doesn't even have a win in this trilogy yet. She doesn't even own a win, and
Right.
it's tough because
Well, technically she does have a win. That's the problem.
right,
Because
technically,
nobody on earth is agreeing with the 10-8.
no,
So,
no. I mean, there are people that think
man,
Alexa Grasso won this
this one
fight.
is tough, man.
There are people that think that Grasso did enough, but like I said earlier in the week, from the people that I talked to, Ray, it's like 70-30 Shevchenko.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah, well,
people.
listen, TJ, it was a great fight. That's what kind of sucks about everything. It's kind of getting overlooked how good of a fight it was. But the 10-8 thing just put another spin on it, and I just wish it never happened. Yeah, I
Yeah,
really do, because it's you could see that Valentina came out different than the first fight. You know what I mean? Like you could see that she was in there to win. Like she was dialed in, focused. She did make a couple of slip ups that kind of cost her optically, maybe to lose the round. But for the most part, she was in control of the majority of that fight, of the 25 minutes.
yeah,
You know what I mean? To me, anyway, I'd have to go back and look at it. Now, I wasn't looking at it like the score, but like again, as soon as that 10-8 came out, and she would have won if he just scored it at 10-9. It's crazy.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
So
I agree. I mean, because that's the thing; it just wasn't a 10-8 round. I'm sorry, like it wasn't.
yeah,
We talk about the other rounds too. Like knockdowns don't mean that you get a 10-8 either in MMA. This isn't boxing, so
yeah.
I just think again
Right.
what I was saying earlier is 10-8 rounds when they present themselves. It's usually not a debatable sort of scenario to write it down.
I like that I like that mentality too. And the knockdown was more not that it was a slip, but she caught her on a weird angle.
Right.
She did a backward, roll that.
Yeah, she was cognizant of it.
She
Like
wasn't hurt.
throughout
Yeah, it
all of
wasn't
that.
like Izzy it wasn't like Izzy getting knocked down by Strickland. It wasn't that. It was more, half off balance, half came out of nowhere. And I don't want to take away anything from Grasso though. I mean, she did knock it down, and whatever. But
Right. Yeah.
it's a shame. I just think it's a shame that was a fight that, man, those stakes are high,
Yeah.
TJ. Like they're high for those girls,
Absolutely.
and
Especially for
that
Shevchenko,
to
who's
lose like
older.
that,
Sorry to cut you off there, Ray.
yeah,
I was saying, for Valentina, who's a little bit longer in the tooth, has already had that primary run. Any setback, whether it's a judging defeat or this injury. I mean, she got hit with a 2-for-1 on Saturday, and
yeah,
now it's 3 months, on the shelf. I don't know if she's had her surgery yet. Hopefully, she gets it done as soon as possible. But this division is going to go on now, at least for the time being, without an immediate rematch. They might still make it. Grasso would have to sit for a while if that is her next title defense. But I'm curious, Ray, for your money, what do you do if you're the matchmakers for Alexa Grasso? Is the idea of making the champion sort of sit and wait for Valentina an option, or do you give her someone the likes of an Aaron Blanchfield or Manon Ferrot?
I think because of the operation, you give her like a Blanchfield. If she wants to fight within like 4 months, that's what you do. And then Valentina just fights the winner. And then, say if Blanchfield won, I mean, in a weird, whatever, like hypothetical thing,
Sure.
Blanchfield wins and then Valentina beats Blanchfield, then you have a great rematch with Grasso again.
Yeah.
That makes for a great fight. I don't know I'm not saying it would go like that, but,
I think Aaron
the more,
Blanchfield.
the more,
Okay.
yeah.
I think Aaron Blanchfield's a future UFC champion. She's young,
I
incredibly
think
young.
so. I like it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I think that she's worthy of that title fight here against Alexa Grasso. And like you said, Ray, I like the idea of Shevchenko getting an immediate title fight next time out. Whether it's Alexa Grasso, whether it's Aaron Blanchfield, whether it's
Yeah.
Manon Furio or shit, whether it's Tracy Cortez, like it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
Looking at Shevchenko, she's done more than enough. And when an athlete is, that's what kind of really bugs me about this one more than anything, Ray, is when an athlete has done what they've needed to do to get in a position to come back and have a huge
Yes.
win. You think about this win, if she got it over Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko is already a future Hall of Famer. But what would that win
Yes.
do for her legacy? And like you
Yeah.
said, things break funny ways in mixed martial arts. Like Valentina Shevchenko
Yeah.
has, hand surgery. She maybe tries to rush back. Who knows if she can get through a camp coming off a tough thumb injury? You never know.
Without a doubt. I mean, the biggest obstacle I think for Shevchenko is that she cannot mentally let this get to her.
Yeah.
Like I know it sounds weird, but she has to stay focused. Just seen it too many times, even like Hendricks and St. Pierre, where they just broke down Hendricks, man. Like he won that fight.
Yep.
They took it away from him. I don't think he was ever the same after that. That's what I worry about is that, everybody's human. Everybody's going to go home and reevaluate stuff. But when you know you want to fight and it was taken away from you, I think psychologically that's one of the worst things that could happen to you. I don't think it's I think it's hard for a lot of people to process, and I think we've seen it before in the past, and I just hope it doesn't happen here.
Yeah, no, we'll have to see. Only time will tell. But I think Alexa Grasso is probably going to have another title defense before she fights Valentina Shevchenko. We will see how it shakes out. Coming up this weekend, we've got a UFC fight card going down tomorrow inside the Apex lightweight main event as Rafael Fiziev takes on Mateusz Gamrot. Pretty sneaky fight here. These are two names that probably don't jump off the forefront of people's minds when they talk about elite lightweight contenders. For Fiziev, he's coming off that loss to Justin Gaethje where he was just battered and bloodied. His nose was an absolute mess, but he was very much game, and it said a lot about Justin Gaethje getting that win back in March. But Fiziev back in action, taking on Gamrot. Looking at Gamrot, he's coming off a win over Jalen Turner. The fight before that, he dropped a decision to Beneil Dariush. This is interesting. This doesn't happen too many times, Ray. You got two guys fighting in the main event of a UFC card, and they both lost their UFC debuts. It's interesting.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and
Wow.
for both of these guys, I mean, not many losses in the octagon either. Fiziev 6-2, Mateusz Gamrot 5-2 in the octagon. So it's going to be a very high stakes fight coming up on Saturday, which is obviously tomorrow. Ray, I'm curious how you see this fight. Fiziev is a phenomenal, fun to watch guy. I was looking at a stat earlier. Actually, let me throw it up here. Look at that: 6 bonuses in 8 UFC fights for Rafael Fiziev.
Wow.
I mean that's got to be
Let
some
me
kind
ask
of
you
record.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is this a 5-round fight?
it is. To my knowledge, it is. I
Yeah.
haven't heard otherwise.
I think if Gamrot gets past the first 2 rounds,
Yeah.
I think it's his fight. I think he's got great cardio. He's he's gonna wrestle him. I don't know where Fiziev's cardio is wrestling wise, but it looks like he even got tied a little bit with Gaethje, just striking. So I think
His nose
five
was
round
pretty
fight.
busted up, though, Ray. Like, I mean, how much would you say that his
Yeah.
nose had to do with cardio? Because, I mean, I don't know. Is that really a thing? An athlete, does their cardio get compromised if their nose gets smashed?
Well, if you can't breathe, yeah, 100%. Uh, when that's why a lot of guys, even with the deviated septums, like I think it was Duplessis, right? He said he couldn't even breathe.
Yeah.
That's a major problem. You know what I mean? Because you have problems with that. So, in that fight with Gaethje, was that an issue? I guess I don't know. We'll find out. I always thought his cardio was a little suspect.
Yeah. I mean, I think the playbook.
Phenomenal striker though.
Yeah, the playbook with him is 100% to try to take it into the deeper waters and to see if you can drown him.
Right, I would think so. Yeah.
For Gamrot,
Yeah.
we'll see if that is his game plan coming up. But you got to go through hell though to get to those deeper waters if you let Fiziev start landing. I mean, this kid, there's a reason he's got 6 bonuses in 8 UFC appearances.
Yeah. No, without a doubt. Yeah, Gamrot, I think that fight with Turner, he just squeaked by in that fight, I think. That's the problem. He can't stand in front of this guy for too long. He'll get knocked out for sure. So it depends on how taxing the wrestling is with Fiziev. I don't know who's favorite. What's the odds on this fight?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me look that up here, Ray. Let's take a look at some stats, though.
What do you think they? What do you think they are?
I mean, I would say Fiziev
Is going to be the favorite.
is going to be a favorite. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with it, though, because I'm with you. I think there's a clear path to victory for Gamrot in this fight, and I tend to see that being the more likely of the outcomes. But I'm pulling up odds right now as we look at more more statistics here from Fiziev. It's kind of crazy to think about what he's done in the UFC already, and he's only been in the UFC since. I don't know. I look at the calendar, Ray, and I still feel like it's 2021. So it was April 20th of 2019. Actually, is a lot further away than I think. But yeah, talk to me, Ray. Say something while I look this up.
Oh wait, I was waiting to hear what you said about the odds. But who do you know who'd he lose to his first fight?
Who's that?
Fiziev.
I'd have to look that up too. You're asking me a bunch of questions I don't have the direct answers to right now.
Oh Christ! I feel bad.
That's all
I'm
right,
going to stop. I'm going to stop talking.
Don't do that. I need you to talk more. That's the issue we're at here. Okay. Looking at this, we got Fiziev minus 148. Minus 148.
And the other guys are plus what?
Plus 124. So, I mean, I'm not telling you how to spend your money by any means, but I would bet Gamrot at that kind of money.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a big line, but it's I think that's accurate.
Our boy Frankie is looking at it. Oh, actually, I'm looking at some old odds apparently. Plus 150 for Gamrot. So, anywhere from 125 to 150.
Now we're getting up to there.
Yeah, and who knows what it'll look like by fight time. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. That's also one of those fights. Like, I don't know how people do the live odds. I mean, I always see like the graphics and Anik talking about the live odds. I don't know where those live odds are, but I feel like a Rafael Fiziev fight, you might get him at like a minus 10,000 favorite and a plus 10,000 underdog in the same fight if you're betting the live odds. No? Okay. Never mind.
Interesting.
Never mind. Let's take a look at our co-main event. Thug Nasty is back. Bryce Mitchell. Coming off the first loss of his
fight, man.
Career. I'm curious, Ray, what do you think about that? It's kind of rare these days that we see an athlete suffer their first UFC loss and their first MMA loss simultaneously. Maybe it's a little more common in the modern era. I guess I feel like back in the day, the regional scene was maybe a bit tougher. The come up to the octagon, you couldn't dodge fights. I think now you might be able to dodge some harder fights or get to the UFC, at 5-0, where back in the day you were looking at 10+ fights more often than not.
Right.
How do you feel? How do you feel about Bryce Mitchell? Coming off the first loss of his career, the first UFC loss of his career, and a loss in which he was stopped via submission. It's not often that a guy with the submission chops of Bryce Mitchell gets stopped. I mean, it's the first time he's ever been stopped.
But he got stopped by Topuria, no?
Right. I mean, if you're going to get stopped by a guy, that's going to be the guy.
Yeah, I mean that guy's top of the food chain. So, but I don't think the Ige fight's going to be a picnic for him either.
Right.
I think we all got some sort of hope after he kind of ran through Barboza, but I think people kind of picked up on that. Yeah, Bryce, this is not an easy fight, But Topuria is definitely a different animal than most of the guys he's fought.
Yeah. If you are grooming a guy to the octagon, I've brought this up in the past. I want them to suffer major adversity before they do so in the UFC. I would like a guy to lose a fight before getting to the UFC even. I think Paddy Pimblett has dealt with some of his issues, the people chirping at him about that Jared Gordon fight. I think that he's, better off for having lost titles before getting to the UFC. I mean, we'll see how it plays out with him moving forward, but I just think that it's better when you've been there before rather than going, oh my goodness, I lost for the first time, and then sort of questioning yourself next time out under the brightest lights in the sport.
Yeah, well, I tell you, bringing up a really good point. But problem today, man, is a lot of people are so hell bent on getting to the UFC because I promote fights too. Then people don't want to fight other people because they're afraid of losing the undefeated record. But I could tell you, back in the day, I wanted my guys to have the toughest fights that were out there locally,
Right. I mean, we
so you
saw that
could
at the Ring of
see,
Combat. We saw that.
there's a lot you could tell from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who do you think the toughest guy you fought regionally with one of the UFC guys that we saw? Like, I feel like Weidman had some really tough fights coming up.
Well, Weidman fought Uriah Hall
That's right.
before he got in, and Uriah Hall was killing everybody at that point.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good fight. Quint, I remember he fought this guy, Miglioli, a Brazilian guy. He had 2 fights with him. Fantastic fights. The guy really pushed him. Kind of, Miglioli might have got in there for a fight or 2, but I don't know if he made it to the UFC. But those were tough fights. Trying to think of who else.
Because I feel, Ray, like, while you think, I feel, Ray, like we see a lot
Yeah.
of guys think, like, oh, I'm going to end up fighting this guy in the UFC or potentially fight this guy in the UFC. So I'm going to try to just make that fight happen when we're getting paid all sorts of money. Obviously, the competition is tough. But, regionally on the come up, you can fight a guy for, 1,000 and 1,000 in a main event or,
Right.
on a main card regional show. And it's like, dude, you might be able to get $20,000 or $24,000 or whatever it's 12 and 12,
Yeah, that's if you make it there.
That's
You have to
true.
make it there
That's true.
first, though.
That's true.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. The thing is, you should just be going out there fighting and winning and really learning about yourself, like you say. So you hit adversity before you hit the big show. Like most of the stuff that happens on the little shows that people bitch about, it's going to happen in the UFC.
Right.
Guys not making weight, guys not doing this, a last minute replacement. And once you're in the UFC, you ain't going to do shit about it. They're not going to let you. So you might as well get used to dealing with all of that shit on the local shows because that's where you're going to grow. And
Right.
that's how you're going to, like you say, you got to hit adversity outside of that. You don't want to find out for the first time. So,
Yeah.
Guys that are taking fights with other people that never want to fight, I mean, unless you're an extraordinary gifted athlete, that will come back and bite you in the ass.
Yeah, it's going to happen eventually. All those things that you mentioned, it's going
Yes.
to happen. So you might as well face it before you're doing so for the biggest amount of money under the brightest lights in the sport. Let's get back to our co-main event. You mentioned Dan Ige. Not a picnic for anybody to take on the Hawaiian inside the octagon. He is coming off a 2-fight win streak, or he's riding a 2-fight win streak into his fight. I don't know why we're looking at Alexander Volkov right now. We'll have to get that looked at. But looking at Ige, 9-5 in the UFC. There was a point in time where he had lost 3 straight fights. He came back and answered that in flying colors, getting this 2-fight win streak. Early wins in the UFC were ultra impressive on his come up. He beat Mirsad Bektic. A lot of people thought that he was going to be the next sort of big thing. Edson Barboza he defeated, and then he got into the UFC with the Contender Series win. And he owns that name, 50K, as part of the UFC's bonus structure. I already talked about Rafael Fiziev, Ray Longo, having 6 bonuses in 8 attempts. Can you guess how many overall bonuses Ige has in the UFC?
I was going to say 5, but I'm assuming it's more than that.
You're wrong. It's less than that. 3.
Oh, it's less than that.
It's less than that.
I think we got to give the name to Physique then.
I'm thinking so. Or Dan Ige needs to step it up and get some more performance.
Yeah, I mean, what rhymes with Physique?
Nothing.
Rufles don't do it.
There's not an English word, I think, that rhymes with physique. So
yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of I mean, I like that he's committed to trying to put his name in that mix. You're always in the mix for 50K.
Yeah.
It's your nickname. But How do you see
Yeah, I
this
mean,
fight?
yeah, he's doing a Jedi mind trick. He's just
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to be tricky as well. I mean, unless he catches Bryce Mitchell and really hurts him. But I mean, anytime you drop Bryce Mitchell, like you go to the floor at your own risk to try to finish him.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm curious.
Well, who's favored? What's the odds on that fight? I'm
Oh
really
man, I'm
curious.
gonna pull it up again. I should have it right here. You would think I have it close by. Here we go. Minus 205 for Bryce Mitchell. So minus, I mean, two to one
Wow,
favorite for Bryce Mitchell. I love
wow.
Bryce Mitchell. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I'm feeling confident at 2 to 1 with him coming off his first
Man,
loss.
that's a way wider spread than I would have thought.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
don't know.
and also looking at
Because
Ige, yeah, he's tricky too because he's got a nice finishing rate, but it's evenly spread as well. He's got 5 knockouts to 5 submissions. I don't think he's necessarily going to submit Bryce Mitchell, but it is mixed martial arts. It's one of those sports where if you drop
right,
somebody, you might be able to jump on their neck and put them in a guillotine real quick. I don't recommend anybody
right.
doing that with Bryce Mitchell, but Ige is more dangerous than just being the stand-up guy in this fight.
I think that's where success is. If it's going to come,
Sure,
it's going to come standing up,
right.
though.
I agree with that.
I think, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't care how many submissions he has. I think, like you say, I'd have to go back and see what they were. But you're right, though. You knock a guy down and you get a submission. It's more the knockdown that caused it than
Yep.
your jujitsu skills, I think, anyway. But I'd have to go back and look and see, where that is. But Bryce is, he's been in the gym. It was years ago, but he was a talented kid back then, even 5-6 years ago. Super talented. So let's see if he could bounce back from the defeat. And I do believe he said he had a problem last fight, right? He was
So he was
he
supposed
was
to
unhappy
fight.
with something.
He was supposed to fight in May on the same card that Aljo defended against Cejudo in Newark, and he pulled out. I believe it was Movsar Evelev that he's supposed to fight. He had a back injury. I don't know if that's what you're talking about necessarily, but
I think that was it.
and
Yeah.
that's the other question I have. You had a back injury. Back injuries are incredibly tricky. Are you 100%? That was just 3.5 months ago. So I don't know.
Right.
We'll find out. Bryce Mitchell is such an interesting character. You look at how he came to the UFC, got that twister finish, second man to finish a twister in UFC history. I hope I'm not stepping out of bounds here by sharing this story, but I heard a story from Eddie Bravo about Bryce Mitchell that was just so Bryce Mitchell when I think about it. He came out to Los Angeles to do some training at 10th Planet. He landed at LAX, and LAX is not near downtown Los Angeles by any means, but that's where Eddie's gym is. And Bryce decided he was going to get to Eddie's gym without taking an Uber or renting a car or anything like that. So he starts walking, and apparently he comes across a gentleman who has a bicycle. So he buys the bicycle off the guy because Bryce goes, man, this is a lot longer of a walk than I thought. It's a lot longer of a bicycle ride than he thought as well because he started gathering firewood, Ray. Firewood, just in case he wasn't going to make it to Eddie's and he needed to camp out on the side of the street.
Wow.
Like what?
Wow.
Like this isn't Arkansas out here in Los Angeles.
That's actually that sounds pretty accurate, man. That is pretty funny, man.
Right.
No, he's a character, man. They just had a clip of him and Bisbing up where he's asking Bisbing, "Do you think we came from apes?" he starts screaming at Bisbing.
Yeah.
He's not, yeah, he's his own person.
Yeah,
He's his own person.
there's a
But
long form interview with him and Brendan Fitzgerald now on Podcast Central from UFC Fight Pass on Fitz Nation, where Brendan talks to Bryce and Bryce talks about just wanting different things compared to his contemporaries. And he built a house and he didn't even buy the lumber because the lumber was too expensive. He went out in the woods and cut it down. It's like wow, I don't. That's a man's man.
We need more of those guys. I like it. I like where
Yeah.
he's coming from.
I mean, be your own man, get things done, right? Like Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, we don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about him waking up in silk sheets if he becomes the champion. He'll be fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, do you have a lean in this fight, Ray? You like Bryce Mitchell? Do you like Danny Gay?
I got to tell you, I do like Bryce Mitchell, but I could see it going sideways too.
You
I
mean
think if
like
he
him getting
starts to,
caught?
yeah, what was that?
Do you mean with Mitchell getting caught by Ige on the feet? Is that how you see it going sideways?
Yes, yeah. I like Ige's stand up. I think if he stuffs a couple of takedowns and he can make it that type of fight, uh, you know, I think it'll be a problem. But I do favor Bryce Mitchell in this fight.
All right, so you're not upset with
But
that
not
line
at a
then?
not at a minus 200. Definitely not.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Um, all right, I got another topic that's been getting at me, Ray, for last couple days, and I need to
Really?
I need to get it off my chest because I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I got to pull something up on my
Let's
phone
do it.
here in a moment to get the actual language because we're talking about 10-8s and like I never want to get on the athletic commissions by any means because they're doing the hardest job really when it comes to anything related to do with sports because the commissions are the ones that are overseeing things. They're always going to be the bad guy in so many ways because either they're going to screw up a fight in one way or another, whether it's judging, whether it's reffing, whether there's some sort of sort of clerical thing that gets in the way of a fight happening. I mean, it's very rare where we're applauding an athletic commission for making the sport easier to produce the fights that we want. You know what I'm saying? But in the state of Colorado, the Association of Boxing Commissions have asked Colorado to ban knees to the head on the floor. Colorado sort of made a landmark decision last year in offering an option for promoters to allow knees to the head on the floor. Of course, they've been illegal since the unified rules were put into play in 2001. Prior to that, you could knee on the floor to the head. Tito Ortiz did it in the UFC. I mean, did it a lot to Guy Mezger in their rematch. People don't even know who Tito
Right.
Ortiz is anymore, let alone Guy Mezger. And
Isn't that crazy?
Hey,
Holy crow!
dude. But what I want to say here is, Ray. I mean, first off, can I just get your thoughts on knees to the head on the floor? Obviously, you're very close to it. Aljamain Sterling got kneed by Peter Yan. That's how he captured that title. Unfortunately, I think it speaks to why fans feel the way they do about Aljo way more
Yes.
than it should. But how do you feel? Take Aljo out of it. How do you feel about knees on the floor to the head of a grounded opponent?
Uh, yeah, I'm not totally against it. Although I'm so at ease with the rules now. I'm not really like a change guy. So I like what I'm seeing now. So
But
based on that, I would say I don't like it, but I do like it from a combative standpoint. In Aljo's case, if there was knees to the head, he wouldn't have been standing there
that's
like
what I'm
that. You know
saying,
what I'm
Ray.
saying? So
100%. Like
yeah, that it makes you more aware for sure, and you can't turtle up and do nothing. But I don't, like again, we're so used to not having them. If they change that rule, you'll see a lot of disasters before people get used to it.
see,
It was almost like when we had the thing 2 hands down, 1 hand down.
but that
They were switching it every state they went to.
right, but
Uh,
that's also part of the problem, Ray. Like you
yes,
eliminate
yeah,
the whole game if you have to defend yourself at all times. And I just hate the idea
yeah,
that a position is a defense because a position is a defense. People knock
right,
Aljo for being in that front headlock and sort of waiting there at times. And it's like, guys, it's smart if you think about it because not many people
yeah,
have a lot to really work from that front headlock position unless you're going up against a phenomenal wrestler that really knows what they're doing. And even then, they're going to control you more than try to submit you. You know what I mean? They're not. You can't throw any strikes from a front headlock position. You know, you have to utilize the
Right.
rules that are afforded to you in a way that best gives you an opportunity to win. But yeah, I don't know, Ray. I hate the
Yeah.
idea that the referee tells you to defend yourself at all times, but there's a position that is very, very, I think common at times, and you don't have to defend yourself there, at least not from knees.
Yeah. No, no, I'm agreeing with you. Like again, my initial thing is I'm perfectly cool with the way the rules are now. I don't think it's like I'm not gonna like the sport more if they put the knees in, but I get what you're saying too. Uh, I tell you, it is pretty vicious, man.
Well, it's
What was that fight in Pride? Was it Mark Kerr and the Russian dude, where he just
Igor
kneed the crap
Vovchanchyn.
out of his head?
That
Yeah,
might have been one. The one that everyone sort of brings up is Mark Coleman and Alon Goez. Goez was, I think, 25, 30 pounds lighter than Coleman.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I'm trying to find the reasoning here that the ABC said. I can't find the document, unfortunately, but it was literally they're quoting scientific laws as why knees to the head are illegal. They say gravity, the idea that gravity with the downward strike makes knees harder and more vicious. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, then you need to get rid of the axe kick because that's a strike that comes
Yeah.
down. Um, Hammer fists probably are terrible because, I mean, those strikes come down. Um,
Right.
they're trying to say that these knees on the floor are more dangerous because of X, Y, and Z. But Ray, we live in a time where we have television shows that use pressure sensors and impact sensors to show us, pounds per square inch of force when we do all sorts of things, whether it's being in a car
Right.
accident
Right.
or whether it's, hitting a baseball with a bat. Can someone please get one of these smart people with these pressure sensors to put them in a grappling dummy and have someone land a knee from the plum and then someone land a knee from the front headlock position and show me that it is, in fact, more dangerous, with pounds per square inch? Another argument they had was the head is stationary on the floor when you're throwing it. Well, the head is stationary when, you're mounted on someone and dropping elbows. You know what I mean? You're not looking to get,
Right.
I have a problem with it for so many reasons. And, the main reason is what we already talked about. The reason that not having knees on the floor is so bad for fighters is because when a foul comes, when someone throws it illegally, they don't expect it. They don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of an athlete ever going, I'm safe, because you're not safe.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. Well, anytime you add rules to anything, you're gonna have that.
right, I
It's the
get
same thing. Look, they used to have headbutts too. They took
right.
those out. So now, even when a guy's in your guard, he can't headbutt you if he's got bicep control. Say, me back in the day, you saw people get headbutted to death.
Right. I hear you.
So
I hear
it's
you.
always going to be something,
I
right?
just the idea though that a knee on the floor is more dangerous. I mean, this is supposed to be the ultimate, fighting sport, and
No, yeah.
12 to 6
Well, look,
elbows.
even didn't that happen to Demetrius Johnson, where he got kneed in the head on the floor because he fought so many years without knees on the floor? I think he
I
was a victim of
he
that.
was he was rocked badly before that happened, and he was trying to stand
Oh, all
up.
right.
I don't necessarily like. I understand what you're saying. Athletes, they train and fight a certain way for a long
Yeah.
time. You become used to things, but I think
Yeah.
you're gonna get one knee thrown your way on the floor, and you're gonna move real quick. Because that's the thing too, Ray. Not a lot of people are stuck in that front headlock position to where they're only going to get kneed. You can pull guard from there. You can move a lot
Yeah,
of different
yeah, yeah. Well,
ways.
that's why you would pull guard back
Right,
in the day. You
right,
know what I mean? You'd spin around real quick because you didn't want to get kneed in the freaking head.
right. And and,
But
and and that's my other sort of argument here is the idea that you're stuck there. It's just not true. And to throw that knee and maintain that control of your opponent, the front headlock to hold it while simultaneously kneeing takes so much off of that strike to begin with. I can't listen to the idea that it's illegal because it's more dangerous. Like again, a plum knee is worse than any other knee. It's just bottom line. So get the sports science
Yeah, I
people
think
out
so.
there. Put a pressure gauge in a watermelon or a grappling dummy's head. Whatever you got to do to just prove it to me that it's more dangerous, and then I'll back off. But
Yeah.
I don't know, because I just don't think it should have been taken away to begin with. You know what I mean? So I'll
Right.
let it rest.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Once you took it away, we got used to the other rules. Look, as a coach, I could tell you, you coach around what the rules are. I mean, that's it. You know what
Right,
I mean?
100%.
Back in the day, TJ, you could be fighting a 30-minute fight. You could be fighting a
Oh
15
yeah,
minute fight. You could
yeah.
be, and you had to change the way you trained everybody
Oh yeah.
based on what the rules were that the guy was going to fight. And there were guys in the gym. I know a couple of guys did 30-minute matches, 30 straight.
I mean, that's insane to me. That sounds like
Yeah.
the
Well,
Gracie
maybe
way.
even
You know,
Pride used to. What was Pride? 10 minutes and
T-
5 minutes.
10, 5, and 5 for championship fights, and I think it was just 10 and no. It was definitely 10, 5, and 5 for all fights. So it was a 20-minute fight, but that first round was always a 10-minute endurance round.
Hey, it changes the way you train people, just like it would be if there's soccer kicks to the head, or because like
Right.
you say, you're not going to stay in those positions.
Yeah.
You're going to get back to a safe spot.
To me, unfortunately, anytime I bring up knees to the head and the floor, Ray, people try to tell me, oh, well, then we're going to let soccer kicks too. First off, no, we're not. They're different things. But also, too, when people go for soccer kicks, they do so when the fight, for all intents and purposes, is already over. Very, very
Right.
rarely are you trying to soccer kick someone in a transition. I know everybody that fought stateside for the longest time, if they went over and fought in Pride, like Jens Pulver was this way, all he wanted to do was kick somebody in
Yeah.
the head. They wanted that opportunity to do so. But I'm
Right.
never going to argue for soccer kicks. I think they're stupid. I don't think they're valuable at all. All right, on the way out here, Ray, I want to debut a new segment. We're going to start it. I don't have a graphic, and we're going to kind of run out of time to do it live. But I don't know if you know this. I used to work in FM radio. I loved working in FM radio for the longest time.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, we're playing terrible rock music, but the request line was always something that I thoroughly enjoyed. Talking to listeners. I don't know if you were ever the guy back in the day that would call a radio station to hear a song. I regret to
Definitely never that guy. No.
perfect. I regret to inform our audience that it's all bullshit. Requests in radio are not real. They never have been real.
Wow.
You have a playlist. You stick to that
Wow.
playlist. If you don't play what's on that playlist, big trouble. Big trouble you get in. But the request line was great. And for a young kid like me, that's how I picked up on the ladies, Ray. They call in the request line and be like,
Wow.
"Hey, how's
Wow.
it going?"
You're really airing it out this
I
episode.
mean, I'm just having fun. But
Oh, I'm learning a lot here.
So, in honor of the request line from my FM days, Ray, on Fridays I've started giving out a number where people can text me, and they can just text me anything they want, and the questions I'll bring up here on Extra Rounds, and it is a request line. So if you want to see a fight, make a request, and maybe you and I will actually honor it, unlike radio, and we'll watch a fight together. You know what I mean? Give some alternate
Wow.
commentary. But I got a couple of requests here, Ray, that people wanted to say some things and have me respond to them. One of them was, how do we feel about Bilal Muhammad getting quote-unquote screwed out of his title fight against Leon Edwards coming up here? Obviously, it's Colby Covington. Your thoughts on Colby getting a title fight while Bilal is forced to sit?
Again, it goes in the category: is it fair? No, but is it practical for the business? I don't think. I think Colby moves the dial way more than Bilal moves the dial, and I think this business is based on the bottom line, and they're going to do whatever feeds that bottom line the way they want it to be fed, and that's it. So it kind of sucks for Bilal, but he will eventually get his shot.
Yeah. That's basically what I said. I said the sport isn't as much of a meritocracy as you would like to think. I'm certain Bilal will get his shot, and I expect him to take out his frustrations on whoever is standing in front of him when he does get that fight. Another one here. Have you seen this muscle-bound dude? I think his name's Bradley. Talking to these MMA fighters. He's like a not a power lifter, but like a bodybuilder, and he's basically asking these UFC athletes. I think Aljo and Marab were actually on his show, saying like,
Or Aljo and Weidman might have been there. I don't know who the guy is, but it was.
yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of the shtick at all.
It was definitely Marab with Aljo because this Bradley guy basically says to Marab, like, you're 135 pounds. I'm 200 plus pounds, whatever. I would smash you in a street fight. And I just, are people still that delusional where they think that just being shredded is enough to beat up someone who's,
Yes, they are.
that's
PJ,
crazy
because
to me.
think about it, it's not that it's easy to get shredded, but when you can do anything and when you're not getting punched in the face while you're doing it,
Right.
that's a gift.
Yeah.
So they have to make themselves feel better. So they equate. Those are guys that you're never going to see test themselves. I can guarantee you that, because they want to carry on the illusion that they're a badass without actually proving it. So I guess those days still exist. Nobody's buying it though, but they don't know that.
Yeah. I honestly think that this guy, if he really believes that he could beat up Marab or anybody that's a 135 pounder, like he would probably be upset to find out that I think there's some 125 pound women that if they got on his back, he'd get choked unconscious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. I'm 100%,
and
without a doubt.
I'm not, advocating for street fights. I think they're stupid and ridiculous. But the idea that just because you're shredded means you're a tough guy, like, you know what I would love? I love to see this guy try to race anybody in a 5K. You know what I mean? Because that's the other thing about power lifters.
Oh, no.
People are like, oh, he's in great
No,
shape. It's like, no, that's an aesthetic look. Like,
no. Cardio wise, no good.
Yeah.
Trust me. I had my second gym was in a gym, and it was like they had a good strongman section. But I remember a guy walking in to say hello to me, big power lifter. He was going about an eighth of a mile an hour to go 10 yards, and then he sat on the ring to say hello to me. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're out of breath walking from the door to here?
Yeah.
And the guy just got done squatting or whatever. He was dead 2 weeks later, died of a heart attack.
That's terrible.
And this guy was in his 30s. So that's what I'm saying. Like, those guys, they might look big.
Right. It's not the epitome of health. They might look good on muscle.
The complete opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely not the poster child for health. All right, last one here. The 909 checks in and asks me, who is the GOAT? But not the typical who is the GOAT question. Who is the GOAT when it comes to training athletes? And you won't be surprised to hear that I said you, Ray Longo. I said Ray Longo, 3 champions, all homegrown, plus wins over Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre. No one is likely to create 3 UFC champions that are local to the gym in the modern era again. Plus, Ray Longo is the nicest guy ever. So, Ray, when it comes to trainers...
Oh, man, I think I saw that tweet. Yeah. Nice. Thank you for that.
Ray. I mean, you tell me another area of the country that is even likely to produce 3 UFC champions, that all started within... I mean, what's the mile radius between your gym and... Aljo is probably the furthest guy away? Am I correct?
No more than 5 miles away from the gym. They're all of them.
Wow. 5 miles.
Weidman's close. Aljo was the closest, I think. It's the opposite.
Okay. All right.
And Sarah, no. Plus we had Iaquinta to fight for the title too, so I'm very proud of that. It gets left out a lot, but he took that fight with Khabib on 24-hour notice.
He gave Khabib
and I think he made a great account of himself.
Fight too. I mean, Iaquinta, there was a moral victory in there in so many different ways.
Yeah. Look, what happened in that gym, you'd have to analyze all the aspects of it. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
It's not going to, and it was like a 20-year process too. It's not. You're not going to get local guys because everybody's poaching guys at this point. Right. At big gyms, you can never get that type of camaraderie. They might say it, but it's almost impossible. You know what I mean? Like, these are guys now that have been together. Geez, Weidman won the title in, 12 or 13? That's already 10, 11 years. Yeah. Sarah, 2007. I mean, and everybody's still together. So how much longer we could hold that up, TJ? Because I'm getting older now. But, you're not getting it again. Yeah, I don't see it. Because I don't even see right now, even for me, the connection with some of the younger guys, like that age gap is just getting too big. It's hard to connect with some of the guys that are in their mid-20s, but we still got a couple of good guys coming up too, man. So, and Marab has yet to fight for the title. So, what we did in the gym, I'm proud of, and we got now. There's like eight or nine guys in the UFC out of that gym, which is unheard of.
Yeah, and that's
For Long Island anyway, it's a big deal. And you got three guys fighting at the Garden in November: Frivola, Nas, and Bazooka, all with very tough fights. So it's still fun. I will say that. But thank you for the compliment. But I think when you really break it down, it's going to be hard to beat that homegrown talent aspect of it.
I'm thinking Frivola's got to be featured prelim, if not first fight on the main card now of that NYC show. Like, that guy's must-see TV.
Yeah. You know who he's fighting? You know who he's fighting?
No.
He's fighting that Benoit St. David, who's really tough, man. It's going to be a crazy fight.
All right. I like it.
I think that's his name. Yeah. Yeah, so they all have good fights. So
Benoit.
Busy stuff.
Is it Benoit Saint Denis? Is that his name?
Benoit, yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. French, yeah, definitely. What do they call him? Benoit St. David.
I mean, that's the translated name in Long Island.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know if you know this, but TJ DeSantis, how you say that in Long Island is, hey, you, or what's his face?
No, we say TJ DeSantis. There's a lot of DeSantises on Long Island, trust me.
Are there really? I've never met one in my life.
Yeah.
Never met another. I mean, I know
a couple
Ron.
of them.
I know Ron down there in Florida, but I don't know anybody else. So, all right, Ray.
Yeah.
Thanks for battling with some tech issues today. I switched from a PC to a Mac, so I already don't know how to operate this thing like I should. And we're also having some issues today, but I think we battled through it. And I thank you for doing so, sir.
Awesome, man. This was better energy than the last time.
The last time was fine, Ray. Honestly, I hate to say it. We were up late. You were up later than I was, and you were just kind of dumbfounded with how that main event played out.
Yeah, that's true, though. That killed me.
It'll definitely take it out of you. All right, Ray Longo. Appreciate you, sir.
We will talk next week.
Sounds good, Ray.
Take it easy, my man.
Thank you, sir.
I'll talk to you.
He's Ray Longo. Always joining me here on Extra Rounds as I press buttons to make sure he gets out of here without saying some more Long Island vocabulary that you're not allowed to say on these shows. I'm TJ DeSantis. I appreciate you tuning in for Extra Rounds. Going to double check to make sure I didn't miss anything over here from Frankie, my producer, who makes this show go around. I unfortunately didn't look at the live event schedule for what's going on Fight Pass, but you should sign up right now. UFCFightPass.com. Live events each and every weekend. I was on the call for Tough Enough last Friday. The Friday before that, did Cage Warriors down in San Diego. Basically everyone that gets to the UFC these days has to come up through one of these regional shows, and the best regional shows are our live event partners on UFC Fight Pass. So please tune in and check it out. You got shows like CFFC, LFA. I mentioned Tough Enough, Cage Warriors, both stateside and in the UK. They got a show coming up in Manchester before too long. Now my phone's coming alive here. Let's see. We got LFA at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It's about an hour and a half from now. LFA as well. UWC going down south of the border in Mexico. That is happening 9 p.m. tonight. So definitely tune in. Step into our world, as we say, over on UFC Fight Pass. I'm going to go ahead and press this button right there. And, pretty much it. We're going to be back coming up soon. I don't know when, but soon. In the meantime, I implore you to check out Podcast Central, where you can check out more of Extra Rounds, as well as other podcasts that we got. I already mentioned Brendan Fitzgerald and Fitz Nation. He's got a nice long-form interview with Bryce Mitchell. That'll get you ready to go for tomorrow, as Thug Nasty is back in the co-main event. He takes on Dan 50K Ige. And then your main event, Rafael Fiziev taking on Mateusz Gamrot. So check it out. Tune in. Lots of fun stuff headed your way live from UFC and, of course, UFC Fight Pass. All right, for Ray Longo, I'm TJ DeSantis. Get at me on Twitter or X, whatever it is, Instagram, all that fun business, at TJ DeSantis. And like I said, on Fridays, I take your text messages. You can always text the number, 917-UFC-TALK. It is 917-832-8255. Do not hesitate to shoot me a text. It doesn't even have to be on a Friday when I'm expecting it. If you just want to do it some other time, you can, because it goes right to my cell phone, like a text message does. You can even call me. Probably won't answer. I don't answer for anybody, generally. But you can try if you want to. 917-UFC-TALK, 917-832-8255. All right. For Ray Longo, I'm TJ DeSantis. Thanks for going a few extra rounds with us. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the fights. And we'll see you next time right here on UFC Fight Pass.